We are live again, people. Had a little bit of a technical snafu, no big deal. But we have gone live yet again. Just to kind of wrap up what I was talking about before I lost you. I was talking about the Nightbreed, the limited edition Nightbreed edition that is going for like $90. And 10,000 people have already pre-ordered it, but Scream Factory has not announced why it's costing you $90. So what they actually did was they're doing a second printing. They only did 10,000 run. Now they're doing 10,000 more. So we've got the limited edition. Hopefully they'll call this one, the new printing, the less limited edition, but I doubt they'll do that. But yeah, I mean that's weird too. And the point I was trying to make was, you know, whether you're paying $90 for that edition, not knowing what's so special about it, or if you're throwing down, say, you know, nearly $400 for a picture of Robert Englund portraying Freddy Krueger at Flashback Weekend, you know, I mean, that's your business. If you've got the money to do that, I mean, more power to you, to each their own. It's stuff that even, you know, me, you know, I could not justify throwing down that kind of money for that kind of thing. But if people are doing it, and I was actually talking to CK, the Creepy Kentuckian from Dead Pit, on one of these hangouts a couple of months ago, and you know, now what we're going to see is, you know, Kane Hodder dressed as Jason for $200, a photo op. Yeah. Doug Bradley as Pinhead for $200 for a photo op. So I mean, it's really sort of setting a weird sort of standard of, you know, like for instance, the Sleepaway Camp Blu-ray. I love this film. I love it with every fiber of my being. I could not justify paying $30 for it. I just could not. I mean, I got this edition at a Hastings for $20 with tax, which I was fine with. But I could not justify $30. And it just seems to me, even with Scream Factory, you know, their releases have gone from $20 to $25 to now $30.
Right.
It just kind of seems to me that, you know, they know they're at the top of their game. They're at the forefront of, you know, collector and fanboy just exultation. So they know they have what you want, what we want, and, you know, if we want it, we've got to pay a premium for it. They're kind of just setting the price, and I don't know. It's kind of, you know, it's just a weird. It's almost a scary time. I mean, like I said, I can't recall a time in the past where it's been so expensive to be a fanboy or a collector, you know?
Yeah, people are going to reach a burnout phase. They're going to reach a spot where they've had too much. Maybe they don't want any more for a while. And even the fanboys, you know, that really, really care about the stuff, I think they're going to get to a point where they've had enough. And they'll stop buying for a while, and those prices hopefully will dip back down. I think the convention scene's got the same way, like you said, with Robert Englund and those things. Now, is it awesome to see Robert Englund in that makeup and to get your picture taken with him and all the fun stuff he does with people? Absolutely it is. Do I think it's the last time Robert Englund will wear that makeup? I do not think it's the last time he'll wear that makeup.
Oh, yeah, God no. Yeah, God no. Because they had marketed it as, you know, this is the last time Robert Englund wears the makeup. And my response was, yeah, it's the last time he wears the makeup until the next time somebody pays him to wear the makeup.
Right. Right. And I don't think Robert Englund necessarily is trying to be that way, but I think he's smart man. He knows how much people will pay, and it looks like people had a fantastic time with him at Flashback Weekend. I'm not going to deny that, whatever, you know. And I saw a lot of really cool pictures. I know that people were, you know, a lot of Freddy and a lot of Englund defenders out there were saying, well, you know what? It was still an awesome experience. It was worth it to me, and to them, I say that's fantastic. As a fan myself, with Friday the 13th being something, or I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street being something I really like, but not something that I'm going to go absolutely ape over, not seeing him in the sweater and the hat does matter to me. You know? Yeah. Because how much extra would have that been? He went through all of the makeup process. It looked fantastic. Put the damn sweater and hat on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
seriously.
clearly, to me, it was a legal issue. You could mark, yeah. I mean, you could market it as Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. You couldn't market it as Freddy Krueger.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. And when you're getting into with the hat, with the fedora, with the sweater, you're probably treading on some trademark grounds, and that's most likely why he didn't wear that. And why? Because they had put a press release out saying it's not Robert Englund as Freddy. It's not Robert Englund Freddy Krueger. It's Robert Englund portraying Freddy Krueger. So, I mean, they were very clear
he's a
about that.
glorified cosplayer is what he was trying to pull off there.
Yes.
A glorified cosplayer.
Exactly. And I'm sure, I mean, all those pictures that I saw, people were having, I mean, they had big smiles on their faces. They were loving it. I'm sure it was a great experience. I'm sure he was in character. I'm sure it was awesome. But after I got home and I looked at that picture with the awful background, and the bad lighting, I'd gone to, knowing that I'd throw down $400 for it, I would have gone through some serious buyer's remorse. I mean, I couldn't have helped it.
Yeah. Do you go through that same remorse with the Halloween set, though, if you buy that Blu-ray set? I mean, are you going to have that remorse, do you think?
That's a good possibility. That's a really good possibility. I think so. That's a really good possibility.
I worry about it, too.
I didn't have that with the Friday the 13th set, and it was lesser of a set than the Halloween set. But at the same time, it's like, okay, now I've got to clear off all this shelf space. Now I've got, what am I going to do with all these other Blu-rays that I already own? Am I going to sell them? Am I going to throw them in a box somewhere? I mean, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just a weird time. I mean, we've also, and typically, I mean, this is the time of year when the companies start to announce their big horror releases in September and October, and they even announced, I think it's Dark Sky Films announced a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 40th anniversary Black Maria set where you get the 4-disc Blu-ray of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You get a mini poster. You get a bloody Leatherface apron. And it all comes in a box set that looks like the Black Maria big rig from the end of the film for $100. And when I first looked at that set, I said, that looks pretty awesome, but $100, oh my God!
Right.
It's like, yeah, I love that film. Yeah, that's my all-time favorite horror film, but I don't know if I can do that. You know what I mean?
See, I would pass on Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, I'm going to own the new Blu-ray of the film. I love the film. Yeah. But I would pass on Chainsaw Massacre, whereas some people I know would be the complete opposite. They'd be like, forget that Halloween set, forget that Friday the 13th set. Chainsaw Massacre is the movie. I mean, that's the one that I would fork over that dough for. But then you get into the whole question of, you said $100 for one movie? Well, I'm spending $120 for 9? 10? Yeah. I mean...
And it's $100 again, and I think they, just because you slap the words limited edition on something, doesn't mean you can triple and quadruple the price. You know what I mean? Because I mean, like we saw with Scream Factory, if enough people buy it, you know what? It'll become less limited. Right. And exactly. But yeah, the big selling point for that is the box that looks like a big rig. $100 for that. I mean, that's a lot for. I mean, like you said, one movie. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a toy with one disc or with 3 or 4 discs in it, probably special features. But same thing. I mean, I hate to keep harping back on that Friday the 13th set, and I keep looking at it here right in front of me. It's like,
right.
What did you? Gosh, I mean, I think I spent $30 or $40 on the Blu-ray set when it was on sale. About this Blu-ray set, and it's like I don't get all that much more except for HD visuals, and they basically threw in a piece of a book I already own with
right
typos all over, um, and a patch.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that kind of burns your hide a little bit.
Right. Well, and you know, and the Friday the 13th set, when it was first announced, it was $88, I think. But see, I found if you bought it through Warner Brothers Direct, they had this special going where everything on the site was like 10, 15, 20% off. And if you bought something that was over $50, you got an additional 15, 20% off. So if you combine those with that set, you got it for 40% off. So that's how I pre-ordered mine. I ran to Facebook and social media and I said, if you want this set, here's how you get it for 40% off, but hurry. And soon enough, they realized, holy shit, people are buying this thing for 40% off. What are we doing? And they
Right.
realized that they were handcuffing themselves with these two deals on top of each other, and they stopped it. They stopped it. But for a good 2 or 3 days, you know, myself and a lot of other people were getting it quickly and at a discounted price. So I mean, a lot of people managed to get that set at that discounted price, and like you said, if you buy it today, you know, you can get it for $30-$40.
But see, the main retailers still will try to charge you $100 for it. So you still have to know where you're looking, and
exactly.
I think these sets miscommunicate themselves to the general public too, because you would think that a set of Halloween or a set of Friday the 13th would be marketed towards people who have never owned a movie in one of the movies in their lives, and like, hey, here they all are at once. But no, they're marketed towards people who love the movies, and you know they already own them all. So it's weird. It's a weird marketing thing where you're like, okay, everybody, here's all the movies at once. This is a good point for you to start at if you've never watched one before, because you could have them all in one place and not have to worry about having to put them all together. But that's not what they're going for. They're going for you and I. They're going for the people that really care, who already own these things 2 or 3 times over, who own them on VHS, who, you know, love these things. I just feel like the convention scene and the home video scene is going to crash at some point. I think we're spiraling out of control, and I love Scream Factory, and I hope they don't continue with the prices, like you said, where they're continuing to be on the rise, because I love what they do. I love what they have done. I love the opportunity. I think Nightbreed is an example of people are willing to pay that $90 for that Nightbreed because it's a version of the film that they know they want to see, and they trust Scream Factory to bring the goods. They trust them to bring the goods. One of these days, though, Scream Factory's not going to bring the goods anymore. Somebody's going to feel burnt. Maybe it is the Halloween set. Maybe people get it in their hands and realize, you've toasted my rear end on this one. I'm done. I'm just going to put it behind me. I'm not going to purchase any more stuff from you, and there's going to be that renaissance period where people are like, okay, we went away for a while. Scream Factory's back, but now we're charging $15 per new release DVD. Yeah. And after a certain period, like Target or Walmart or whatever, we'll rise it back to $20 again. $20 to me is a reasonable price for a release on a film. You know, if it's got special features, a nice package, whatever, I'm willing to look at that. I'm willing to consider it. When you start taking me for granted, though, and realizing that I do love this stuff, and you know that clientele they're going for, like me, like you, eventually you got to start looking at it and thinking, we got to stop. We got to stop at some point and say, you know what? I can see this movie through other means. I like this movie because of what is on the screen, not as what is in the box. If you can offer me what's in the box for a reasonable price, then absolutely I'll slap down that cash for it. But until then, I'm going to enjoy it the way the director intended me to, on my screen, on my television. You know,
right?
But the problem is, I can't make myself personally get there. You know, I keep saying this stuff. I know it makes sense to say this stuff, but when is it going to come to a point where I get there, where I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't need that. If I want to watch Halloween 5, I'll go put that Blu-ray in right now and watch it. I can't do that. You tell me, oh man, look at this pretty set. It's got all this stuff in it. They're all together. Okay, I'll put my money down, you know, and I'll
Right.
justify it with my birthday and all that crap that I talked about earlier. It's like
Mhm.
the breaking point has got to be sooner rather than later, I think, for most
Right.
fans. And, you know, I don't know. I hate saying it because I don't want to see it die down. I don't want to see the buzz around this stuff go away. But at the same time, it's going to continue to rise. You know, when are we going to stop justifying the extra money for these things for the same thing we were buying? Like, I bought The Town That Dreaded Sundown for a reasonable price, you know, 20 bucks or less. I can't remember exactly what it
Right.
was. Could I
Yeah.
justify myself spending $30 on it? I don't know. The beauty of Scream Factory was I was trying films I had never seen before because they were offering me really great editions of the film with really great packaging, great special features at a reasonable price. I might pass on The Town of Dreaded Sundown if it was $30, you know? And that's a great
Right.
movie. That's a great movie
Right.
that I had never seen before the Scream Factory release. And so
Right.
I have a feeling they're going to, you know, kind of they're going to go back on what they intended, I think, to do in the first place by jacking those prices up ever so slightly as it goes along.
Right. Well, and I mean, you said it. I mean, the key word is trust. You know, Scream Factory right now has a tremendous name among collectors and fans. And I'm somebody. I mean, I've waved the Scream Factory flag hard. You know what I mean? Even when they've had some editions that they've stretched the term deluxe edition, which they've had some. I mean, they've had some that haven't been quite as
The Psycho
great as other.
sequels.
Right, right. Um, you know, they've had some disappointments, but for the most part, they've really brought the goods. And I mean, you said it. People are buying this $90 edition because they trust Scream Factory, and they're thinking, if this thing's $90, it's gonna blow my socks off. But I mean, if they come out and you know once they release those special features, and maybe that's why they've not released them up to this point, and people are like, wait a minute, $90 for this, cancel pre-order. I mean, once that trust is broken, Scream Factory could easily fall into the ranks of Anchor Bay.
Right.
And yeah, and another point I want to make is when I hear people online who are just raving about the Halloween set, like it's the second coming. My thought is, if you're this excited over the set, if you're this big of a Halloween fan, shouldn't you already own all these movies on Blu-ray? Um, you know, yeah. Or I mean, maybe you're just one of those people who, you've got a lot of disposable income. You can pay for that $400 photograph with Robert Englund. You can pay $100 for the Black Maria TCM set. You can pay $90 for the limited edition of Nightbreed, and $118 for all the Halloween movies. More power to you. To each their own. Um, it kind of it kind of reminds me of, there's a Simpsons episode where I forget what they're talking about, but whatever it is, the price tag on it is ridiculous. And they say, it might have been Mr. Burns, I don't remember. But basically, the gist was the only people who will buy this are the ignorant and the rich.
Which
So,
category do we fit into?
right, exactly, exactly, exactly. I'm definitely not rich, so
So what does that make me?
exactly, exactly. And and I'm sure when they have their board meetings and they're sitting around thinking about all these releases, that's got to be something that they mention. Well, can we justify another Evil Dead release? Can we justify another
Right.
Halloween release? And they go, and they look at their spreadsheet and they go, well, this last one sold 30,000 copies, 50,000 copies. People want it. Let's release it again. Maybe we'll
Might as
sell,
well.
yeah, maybe we'll sell 30 or 40,000. So people, we're buying them. So I mean, part of the problem is us, but like you said, once that trust is broken, it's gone forever.
Yeah, and I think they're going to run out of opportunities with these big franchises that they've hung their hat on. I mean, because you can only do this set one time. And the big thing here too is I think this Halloween set is going to be the Anchor Bay or not Anchor Bay, but I think Anchor Bay is going to maintain their status quo. That's the sad news about it. Like they're still going to be Anchor Bay. They do what they do. People have come to know it. You either do or you don't. Scream Factory has a
Right.
lot to lose here. If Scream Factory takes this big franchise, puts them all together, and has their name on it, then you run the risk of really burning some bridges if it does indeed turn out to be a lackluster set. I think Scream Factory has a lot to lose here. So hopefully they've made note of this. Hopefully what
Yeah.
you see, hopefully what they advertise is at least met, if not surpassed. Because if for some reason you shorted somebody, if for some reason something's missing from it, or it's not as it was once advertised to be, Scream Factory could be in a lot of trouble. This could be the opportunity where maybe Scream Factory has reached a pinnacle and it starts on the decline now, because we've talked about basically the holy grail here. And I know I've said that I'm a huge Halloween fanboy and that I've defended Halloween and I'll always defend Halloween and blah blah blah. I don't know, it just seems like to me this could be it. This could be the time where those fans, if they turn on you, as big of a fan base that Halloween has, if they turn on your company and Scream Factory this time, it could be, that time where Scream Factory sees kind of the end of their love affair with the underground or the hardcore or the
Right.
big horror fans, and
Right.
that is their customer base. They have to keep that in mind, that if you've lost that hardcore in your eyes, quote unquote, which is a weird term to use anyway, but you know what I mean by it. You know, it could be
Yep.
all over. It could be all over in a flash. In this day and age, I mean, you can build an empire, but I tell you what, it's easier to tear down now than it ever was. So,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. Exactly. It's just a weird time to be like a collector, to be a an Uber fan or a fanboy
yeah,
or whatever. It's just a really expensive time, and the convention scene is something that I've talked about a lot. Um, and just the inflation of the convention scene and the photo ops and all that, and
yeah,
it just seems like it's really gonna get hopefully it'll get to that point where, not necessarily a breaking point, but a point where they sort of people sort of take a step back and go, wait a minute, we've gone astray. um, but I think for that to happen, people are going to have, people like us who can't help ourselves, but to purchase to make those purchases are going to have to say no, because we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. A lot of people could argue that I would never reach that point, and I hope that they're
yeah,
wrong. I hope they're
me too.
wrong, but I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I looked through my stack here, and I showed you the two Blu-rays, but this 25th anniversary, own it.
Yeah,
It was a good release. I did like this one. I don't know if you can see it because it's so like, I don't know, kind of glossy looking or whatever. But this one that had like the little whatever you call that, where you can flip back and forth and see the mask
particular.
and the
Yeah,
pumpkin,
I've
and
got
then
that one too.
the extended TV edition.
Yep, got that one.
Yeah, it's cool to have. It is what it is, but is it all going to be on the release of the first edition in the box set? I don't know. And then the two Blu-ray editions that we talked about earlier, it's like, I'm a sucker, man. It makes you feel stupid, and then when you start feeling stupid and embarrassed, you're like, you could become resentful. And I haven't gotten to that point where I'm resentful of not Anchor. I could see myself becoming resentful of Anchor Bay, but not of Scream Factory yet. But I
Mhm.
don't know that it's a very long road to where I get to that point, and it's not their
Yeah.
fault. I'm making the choice. I'm putting down the cash and saying, here it is. I want it. But I don't know, man. I mean, I seriously hope that there's an end of the road when it comes to how much I'll fork over for these movies, because at some point, if you have a whole shelf, on your display, that's nothing but the original Halloween, the first film, and there's
Mhm.
something that's crazy. You're not
Yeah.
getting that much different. Like you said way earlier in our original conversation about this, like what else can be said about that movie? How many other transfers can there be? You know, you can put Dean Cundy's name on the transfer, and the new transfer does look better. But is it $30 better?
Right.
No. No, it's not. You know, so
Right.
I don't know, man. I worry about my own mental health when it comes to this crap. I just sit back and think, well, you know, I'm the idiot here. They're the geniuses. They're doing this,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
I'm eating it up. So how can I sit back here and say, oh, you know, Anchor Bay sucks. Scream Factory is just taking my money. Well, they can't get to my bank account without my permission. They just can't.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
don't know, man. I don't know. I'd like
Right.
to see a proper Nightmare on Elm Street release. I mean, I know they have a Blu-ray set, but it's pretty cruddy. I want to see something official done with that through New Line. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. I'd fork over some dough for that, but I think I'm saying this on your YouTube channel right now. I think that this Halloween set needs to be the end of the road for me, and I think I want to make it the end of the road for me. I mean, God, I
Right.
hope I don't eat those words later, but I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah. What I've done is like the Friday the 13th, that Blu-ray set. When I was doing the video on it, I'm pretty sure I said this is it for me with Friday the 13th. If they put out new box sets or whatever, I can't justify the purchase. That's the kind of the way I feel about the Halloween set too, to be perfectly honest. And I'm surprised New Line hasn't done something a little bit better. You know, they had a great DVD release, box set release for
Yes,
the Nightmare film, but their Blu-ray set is pretty. I mean, when I got it, and I mean, granted, I paid like $20 for it, but when
me
I
too.
opened it up, I was like, this is it. This is all. Um, you know, it kind of does. The sins, the unforgivable sins with these box sets are like you showed with the Friday set, the pages. Putting more than one movie on a disc, I can't stand that. Both Friday the 13th and
Agreed.
Nightmare on Elm Street are guilty of that. And just and both of those things, the Halloween set has rectified. They're going against the grain. So I mean, I'll give them that. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying as far as the big things that are immediate to you. But you know, again, I keep harping back to what you said early on. You got to be careful though, because when you start seeing negative feedback, you don't want to harp on your customer base, which is the hardcore fan, and say, well, they just complain about everything. You can never please them all. You can never this. You know what? Fans are fickle, and they'll always be fickle, but there's a reason why they're there in the first place. And I think that's the most
Right.
important thing to keep in mind. And it's hard for me to do in my own job. I mean, you know, whenever you have a complaint on you and a complaint against the work you've done, you immediately want to grow defensive about it. But I
Right.
think that the best thing they can do is take the high road and say, here's our product, this is what we're putting in it. Let them say what they're going to say. Let them say what they're going to say. Don't respond directly to the criticism, but respond as far as, you know, what you're showing of the product and what it does have to offer, and just release the thing and say, here it is. We put all the blood, sweat, and tears into it that we wanted to, and, you know, take it for what it is. And hopefully it satisfies. But the more they get defensive about it, the more likely people are to, like you said, cancel the pre-orders, or to get the thing in their hands and look at it and go, I waited for this, I paid for this.
Yeah.
What the heck, you know? And if you have a jaded mindset about it, you're more likely to have that opinion whether it's good or not. You don't want
Right.
people's mindsets being negative based on your reaction to criticism. Let it go.
Mm-hmm.
As hard as it is,
Yeah.
let it go, because there's going to be a group of people out there that are going to love it. And I have a feeling I really will love it, but I do need to draw the line somewhere. And I think this is where the line needs to be drawn. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know where else to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true. Well, before we wrap things up, I got a question for you.
Shoot.
You can select one movie that's either never been released on Blu-ray, or if it has been released on Blu-ray, has gotten kind of a crappy release that you want to see Scream Factory get a hold of and just give it an awesome release. What would be your ultimate Blu-ray release?
Honestly, and I'm not really venturing too far from what we've talked about here, but I would like to see Scream Factory get their hands on a lot of the Friday the 13th series, just because there's a lot of uncharted territory. Um,
Mm,
I would like to see somebody get a breakthrough with Steve Miner in Friday the 13th. They got him to talk about Halloween H2O. They can't get him to talk about the Friday the 13th movies. I would love to hear Steve Miner speak about Friday the 13th Part 2. So I
right.
think if I could get Scream Factory on one film, I would choose Friday the 13th Part 2. I'd like to hear him talk about inspiration. I'd like to hear him talk about whether Mario Bava really inspired a lot of the kill scenes in that movie, which you know as a fan they did. I don't
Yeah.
want him to like admit his sins or anything, but I want him to fess up and say, hey man, I really drew inspiration from Bava. You know, I just would like to hear him, if nothing else, if he's not going to admit anything, just talk about it, because I love Part 2. I think it's a great film. Um, as far as a standalone horror movie that I'd like to see kind of get the treatment, man, that's a tough call. Um, I think that giving Silent Night, Deadly Night, and its sequels a good look on Scream Factory would be great. They've done a lot of fun
Mm,
stuff with that, and they have seen some releases, but I think there's a lot of uncharted territory there. I think that would be a lot of fun.
yeah.
Um, Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm way over answering this question, I know, but I think that's a good set of films there that would be cool to look at. Um,
I
I
think
don't
I
know,
think
man.
Anchor Bay's I think Anchor Bay's actually putting out a new Blu-ray of Silent Night, Deadly Night this fall sometime.
Okay. Hopefully
I
it's
don't.
good.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the special features on it, but they are putting out a new Blu-ray of it. Now, if they did Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 with a like hour-long Eric Freeman interview, I'd love that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Love that.
No, that would be cool. Yeah, some deep sequels or just some sequels in general to films that have never really been touched on or were kind of
Right.
tossed aside at the time, didn't get a lot of love, but have received cult status would be cool. But that's really all I can think of off the top of my head. Um, I don't know, man. I would like to see, honestly, and this is totally, well, it's sort of off topic. I would like to see a collection of Joe Bob Briggs episodes of Monster Vision put together with the
Oh yeah.
film. Wouldn't that be cool to be able to
Yeah.
relive those days where I didn't like the
Yes.
commercials, because you know who likes commercials, but to have the intro and outro
Right.
segments of him talking about the film and then going into the movie, that would be worth a purchase in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree. I will one up you there and say that I would like to see that similar release for USA Up All Night.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
those were fantastic days. And if you're pandering
they
to an
were.
audience like of our generation, which it seems like a lot of these guys are, there's nothing better. I mean, I would watch, even though it's not the movie from start to finish without interruption, those are the interruptions I want, you know? Like a
Yeah.
little break from the action where you sit back, you go grab yourself something to drink, something to eat, and sit back down, listen to, the host talk. I've always been a big Joe Bob fan anyway, but just to hear him
Yeah.
talk, and here's little anecdotes on the movie and how it should be watched, in your car at the drive-in, and the
Yeah. Yeah.
drive-in totals, and the atmosphere of watching these movies, I think, is lost because in a lot of these releases, they're very sterile. They're very
Yeah.
clean, and that's a good thing. You're seeing the best version of the movie you can as far as visuals is concerned. But there was something about seeing that rough cut, that VHS tape, that it just, it takes you back to a place, and to have at least the host there to guide you through the night, basically a double feature
Yeah.
night,
Exactly.
and I don't know. There's just something
Yeah.
about it. It'll never happen, but man, would it be great.
It would be. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. For me, you were talking about sequels. Fright Night 2, I think, would be an awesome Scream Factory release with a lot of cool special features from Tommy Lee Wallace and Roddy well, no, Roddy McDowell's dead. But gosh, what's his William Ragsdale and Stephen Jeffries? Well, Stephen Jeffries wasn't in. Was it? I'm just talking here. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But Friday Night 2, I think, would be an excellent Blu-ray release for Scream Factory. I think that's one that the fans definitely have wanted for a very, very long time. And there's a movie that I love that I've talked about a lot that actually has never even got a DVD release, much less a Blu-ray release, and that's a movie, Jack's Back,
Hmm.
from the '80s, the James Spader movie.
Never seen it.
really good movie. Kind of surprised it never got a DVD release, let alone a Blu-ray release. But really good movie. James Spader's in it. Really cool, murder mystery kind of movie. Um, I don't understand why it's not gotten any kind of official release beyond VHS. I'm sure
Right.
there's legal issues or something to that effect, but I think that'd be a really cool addition. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. It's those lesser known titles that I think give an audience a chance, even if they haven't seen it. I'd be willing to
right.
check it out on somebody's recommendation. That's the other thing that I think a lot of these distributors and a lot of these people making these special features need to understand is that we have the opportunity to connect with other fans more than we have ever before. I can watch your YouTube channel and hear you say this is a great movie. I'm glad they're releasing it. Blah blah blah. I've never seen it, but I'm gonna give it a shot because you recommended it to me.
Mhm.
Don't take that for granted if you're releasing these films that you think, wow, where's the market for this? Well, the market can grow in an instant. Just
Yeah,
give them the opportunity. Get it out there.
yeah,
Let these little blips on the map say, hey, this is good. Check it out. And if they have a big enough voice and a little bit of an audience, it spreads.
exactly. Well, and you mentioned Talent Dread Sundown, which that was a movie that had never gotten any kind of release beyond VHS. They snagged it up. It had a cult following. It had a really good reputation, and I'm sure, that was a movie. I'm sure that was a huge release for them, and it
Yeah.
was a really good release that they did.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's a, and that's a pretty good, flick. Um, so yeah,
One of the best
movies
commentaries that I've heard is on that film because it's with
really,
a historian from that area, the Texarkana area. So instead of hearing, an actor or whoever on the set say, "Oh, I remember when this happened and we did that and we had a good laugh," which is all fun.
right,
I've enjoyed that over the years. I got to hear a film fan moderate with a historian who was actually in that area while that actual murder case was happening, tell
wow,
you about the historical aspect while you're watching the film, which is a fictional interpretation of the real events. That
yeah.
was an incredible way to experience that film. I don't think that I've ever had one like it before, So I don't
Cool.
know. It's
Yeah,
cool.
I'll definitely have to check out that commentary. That's a really interesting. I don't know if you've read about the Phantom Killer of Texarkana, but it's a really interesting case. There's a documentary. I think it's called Killer Legends. It's from the people that did the documentary Cropsey. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, I've seen it. I've seen Cropsey. Yep,
Okay.
yep. The
They
Staten
did
Island
another
killer.
yes. They did another documentary where they explore urban legends, and one of them was the Phantom Killer of Texarkana. And really interesting. It's on Netflix now. You should definitely check it out. Or wait a minute, no, it's not on Netflix. You can find it on YouTube actually. You should check it out. Texarkana has, strangely, really embraced the Phantom Killer, and they've turned it
Yeah,
into a yeah. And what's funny is there's family members and relatives of the people that the Phantom Killer killed, back then, and the town has just totally embraced it, and they've turned it into almost a celebration, really.
it's weird. Isn't it weird how you take something that was so tragic but yet iconic, and
Yeah,
suddenly the town where these horrific murders happened is now showing a presentation of the movie based on the events that draws a humongous crowd. It's like
exactly.
it's that same old adage as we have with kids where attention is attention. It doesn't matter if it's good attention, bad attention, it's attention.
Right,
You know?
right.
So if it draws a crowd, give it a spin. And the truth is, there's no harm in the film. So, you can't knock them for that. But it is a kind of a strange situation where the town, maybe it's just because we're so many years out from the actual crimes
Mhm.
that people aren't as up in arms. But boy, if you had tried that 4 or 5 years out from it, people would have been like, I'll shoot you before I'll let you,
Yeah,
come
yeah,
here and talk about that. But a couple
yeah.
generations down the road, well, it's urban legend, it's tall tale, it's been passed from person to person, and suddenly it's like an adolescent's dream. You have the ultimate
Right.
ghost story. You have the ultimate haunted house story. It's like
Right.
Yeah, man. There was a dude here that wore a sack on his head and actually killed people. Let's show you where it happened. Let's show you the
Yeah.
movie that was
Yeah.
made based on it. You know, I would get involved in that. That'd be kind of fun, which sounds sadistic. It sounds crazy, but,
Right.
it's something to
That's what
tell.
it's a tourist thing. Tourists come all around for Texarkana to, watch that movie in the town square and go on a tour of, where the Phantom Killer killed people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, check that commentary out. It is pretty cool because they talk a lot about what you're saying, and it's weird. It really is. Time does
Yeah.
indeed, in some ways, heal all wounds to the point where they're not making light of the situation, but they use it to their benefit. So.
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. And check out the documentary. I think it's called Killer Legends. You can find it on YouTube. Very, very coll. Very, very cool.
I'll definitely check it out. I love that stuff. That stuff's great.
Yeah. They talk to like the mayor, and the mayor's just gushing about it because the film crew that's making the remake was there recently. So he's just like gushing about it. Oh, yeah, the film crew, and it's like, again, you're talking about a series of murders that happened that you kind of,
right.
yeah. I mean, it put your town on the map, but you're still talking about murders. You know what I mean? So
it's
kind of
crazy.
strange. Kind of
strange situation.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
Exactly.
it probably, if it would happen there, it would happen anywhere else. People, make a name for yourselves. Kind of like Jason Goes to Hell, where they're making the the Jason burgers and all that stuff. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's not too far from the truth. You think that stuff's far fetched, but it ends up being pretty much dead on with what happens.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. Let me see if we've got any questions or comments here. Ev Leopard says he wants to see Blu-ray releases of House, House 2, Beastmaster, and The Burbs. Jason Lama says Monster Vision on TNT was badass back in the day. USA Up All Night as well. Absolutely. Let's see. I think that's about it. Let me check Twitter, see if we got anything going on Twitter, and then Nope. I think we're good. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and plug Idle Chatter before we wrap it up? Get everybody over to the idlechatterpodcast.com and to the Idle Chatter YouTube channel.
All right, good deal. idlechatterpodcast.com, like you said, IDLE chatter, CHATTER podcast.com. Check us on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Idle Chatter Show. Check us out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Idle Chatter on there as well. We basically our little icon or thumbnail is look like kaiju monsters, basically, of us kind of sitting around having a brew together. So check it out. Give us a spin. Subscribe to us on iTunes, and hopefully you like what you hear. I appreciate you having me on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The Idle Chatter podcast is definitely Pizzal approved. Check out our Friday the 13th show that we did together. That wasn't very long ago, really.
About
was
a month, maybe a month and a half at the most.
Yeah,
it's not been long at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
cool.
a ton of fun. You got any shows coming up? Any special shows coming up?
We're broadening our horizons, so I thought maybe we would do something on Dangerous Waters movies, obviously starting with Jaws, but Piranha and all those fun things too. And then we're looking into doing one on, believe it or not, Days of Thunder.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So I figure, anybody named Cole Trickle needs to be on Idle Chatter.
That's true. That's true. That's very, very true. But yeah, thanks a lot for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody who tuned in tonight. Thanks everybody who tweeted at us, who asked questions, who stuck with us, and we appreciate it. And until next time, for Andrew from the Idle Chatter podcast,
thank you much.
For myself, Pizzal, we'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Peace.